The Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. With your hosts, Joe Bond.
You're awful.
And AJ Applegarth.
It's Sin Shu Chu. It's a mouthful.
All right. Welcome to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me, as usual, AJ Applegarth. You look like the neighbor from, Tool Time right now. Home Improvement. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You're like behind the mic. Yeah. I forget that guy's name. Wilson. Yeah, there you go. we got our own Wilson on the show here. There we go. That's a little bit better. What's going on, man?
Not too much. Another snowy day in paradise here.
Yeah, loving it.
In the land of rising sun.
How much did you get up there? Because I know now that you're a couple, about an hour or so more north. How much snow did you actually get?
We didn't really get hit too hard. It's not as much snow, but it's icy as hell. I went to go actually take my recycling stuff out, and I ended up putting the one bin on the driveway, and I was like, we paid some kids to shovel it today since I was working from home. It's like, well, I'll work from home inside and have them shovel outside. Looked at the driveway and I was like, yeah, this just looks like a sheet. So I just was like, pushed the recycling bin ever so lightly, and it slid pretty much all the way down. My driveway is sloped, so that helps, but took the second one, did the same thing, made it a little farther, and then decided to get a little plastic container lid from one of our numerous storage bins from the move, and rode myself down the driveway at blazing speeds. So it was pretty fun.
Nice. Yeah, we got all ice, and it was I shoveled it myself, but it wasn't super fun. But all right, man. So we got our AL West preview show tonight. But before we jump into that, let's do our beer of the week.
Beer.
All right, AJ, what you got tonight?
All right. So tonight I cracked open something a little newer, but I just haven't had a chance to dig into it yet. It's a New Belgium special release called Oakspire. It's an old-fashioned bourbon barrel ale, 9%er. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
All right. You sound excited.
Yeah, that's good. That'll do.
All right. Sounds good, man. So I'm drinking a Other Half Brewing. It's actually paired with The Veil, another New York brewery. That Imperial Pale Ale, 10.6%. This one's a whopper, man. It's called Daddy's Home. Yeah, that's right. I think I bought it just for the name, but I haven't tried it yet. So let's see what we got. Oh, that's tasty. Yes, it does. Yeah. It does taste good, Jeff. Thank you.
Is Daddy going to stay home?
I'll give it
after the 10.6.
I will give it a 4.5. I like that. It's a good one, man. So Jeff laughs at my ratings. Sorry, I buy good beer. I don't check in 2.5ers like you. Okay. Glad nobody heard that. All right, let's move on to the AL West preview here. Our guest of honor for the show tonight is Matt Williams, new writer for NBC Sports Edge, formerly Roto World, host of the Turn 2 podcast and founder of Roto Fanatic. Matt, thanks for coming on, man. Glad to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. I haven't talked to you since last PitchCon.
I know it's going on right now, man. I'm bummed out. I didn't get an invite this year, but it's all right. Yeah, I realized that we haven't talked since then. Are you on it this year?
No. I have a lot happening right now, but I am tuning in. I watched Alex Fast broke down how to make those pitch overlays that he puts on Twitter. So I'm like taking notes. I'm trying to do all that crazy computer stuff. I'll probably end up throwing my computer screen while trying it.
Yeah, man, that is a fantastic 3-day event, right? Or
Is it 4 days?
Yeah, they go
Could
through.
be
Yeah, they go
4.
through
I'm not
Sunday.
sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We had a blast last year, man. We all like were throwing back, like you guys were drinking like bourbons, and I was drinking a big beer. Like we were just like the comedy hour. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, tonight I have a nice canister of H2O.
All right, hey. I got the water here. I'm just not drinking it.
Yeah, you gotta hydrate while
you gotta intimidate the
dehydrate.
water.
Yeah.
Water. This is what you should be.
Yeah. All right. So let's break down this AL West. So what we do here is we go team by team. We'll jump into kind of who's new to the team. We might pause on a player here and there. We'll go through the projected batting lineup that's over on Fangraphs by RosterResource. And then we got 3 questions per team. And Jeff's showing you have like a cap, like a baseball cap obsession, Jeff. Last week you 50 baseball hats. Damn. All right. I mean, I got the old like Baskin Robbins ice cream kids, things over here from like the early 90s. I mean, I'm rocking it, dude. I think AJ's yeah. Hell yeah, man. I know. I saw my kids. I was like, I might just wear one
party.
Let's do it, but I don't think it would sit on my head all night, so I just figured I'd throw them up there.
They used to have those helmets where people just ate the ice cream, and now you go to games and people are like eating nachos and like buffalo wings and all sorts of stuff out of the giant helmets now.
Yeah.
So
the big ones? Jeez.
Yeah, the big ones. They have like not like authentic helmets, but they're like full size. Like,
wow.
I don't know if you're gonna eat nachos and then put it on your head. I haven't seen anyone go to the bathroom and clean it out.
I'm sure it has and or will happen sooner rather than later. Yeah, I can definitely see myself partaking in that.
Yeah. So all right, let's jump in here. Houston Astros is the first team we're gonna tackle. New to the team, we got Jason Castro, Steven Souza Jr., and Pedro Baez. Not a ton of huge additions here. Of course, we know that they lost Springer in this offseason, so that's a big loss. Projected starting lineup here from RosterResource, is Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Michael Brantley, Carlos Correa, Yordan Alvarez, Yuli Gurriel, Kyle Tucker, Miles Straw, Jason Castro. And then the pitching staff, still pretty solid. Zach Greinke, Framber Valdez, Lance McCullers Jr., Jose Urquidy, and Christian Javier. Obviously we know Verlander's going to be, he's out for the whole year, right? I'm blanking on that completely for some reason, but
that's a good question.
I just probably should have realized that before the show started, but I'm pretty sure he's done for the whole year. But yeah, anyway, so that's another huge loss here. He got Tommy John in October, so that's he's gonna pitch this year. That's pretty much a no. So yeah, he's done for the whole year. But yeah, let's jump into the first question. AJ, what you got?
All right. So first question here, we've got Mr. Yordan Alvarez in his real sophomore season this time. So after coming off surgery for the torn patella tendon and arthroscopic surgery on both knees, I mean, what can we honestly expect from Mr. Alvarez this year, Matt?
I mean, I love Yordan Alvarez. His ceiling is literally best hitter in baseball. We saw what he could do when he first came up. I mean, he literally was like everything that you see Juan Soto being. He's Miguel Cabrera. That's exactly the kind of hitter he was. But obviously, it was over a short sample size. But everything he did looked legitimate. So, 2019 was 369 plate appearances, 27 home runs, and he batted .313 with a .412 on base. The thing is, those 27 home runs and 369 plate appearances is that year in AAA. He also had 253 plate appearances where he hit another 23 home runs. So it was just an absolutely absurd rookie season. But for as young as he is, having surgery on both knees, I don't know what to do with that. He's currently going depending on the ADP you look at, in like around 90 or 100. So I think he's a fine option to take there. I mean, everyone is always every year taking like Nelson Cruz saying, all right, well, there's the group that's like, all right, the wheels are going to fall off, and they never quite do. You have him there with utility. You have JD Martinez, the bounce back thing. He's sitting there at utility. And then you have Yordan Alvarez right around there. I'll take a shot on Yordan. They say he's fine. He had the, it's one thing to play through an injury, but he had the surgeries he needed to. They say he's done everything he needs to. We'll see what it looks like in spring training. He'll probably be one of those people where you either take him at a discount now, but in the first week, if he hits 2 home runs, I mean, where does his ADP shoot up to? He'll probably be like, there'll be someone who reaches for him in the 30s. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I would have definitely been hunting for shares in Dynasty, but in redraft, I think right now he's going at a pretty decent discount where if it doesn't work out, it won't sting.
Yeah. I like him a lot. I mean, like you said, I think his ceiling is just incredible. Obviously, I think you hit it right there on the head there with the fact that, I kind of want to see him play healthy before I'm really willing to buy it. And fortunately, I'm not in any drafts super early. But yeah, his ADP is actually 78.
70?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I've seen him. I have one share and I drafted him at like 101. So I know he falls if you're in a room that's just like risk averse.
Yeah. Seems like I'm looking at Fantasy Pros where they do like the consensus ADP between Yahoo, RT Sports, NFBC, and Fantrax. Yahoo people are very aggressive on him at 56.
Oh, wow.
For whatever reason. But everybody else is 82, 83, and 93 over on Fantrax. So, and that actually kind of surprises me with Fantrax because I think there's Dynasty built into Fantrax, a lot of Dynasty built in for Fantrax. And so.
And Best Ball too, right? Isn't there Best Ball built in?
I would imagine so. But I don't know. Maybe Fantasy Pros is able to get those out of there. I'm not sure.
Because I definitely would be more aggressive on Yordan and Best Ball for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you can make up a lot. You can make up for a lot more mistakes in Best Ball, I feel like. Yeah. So. I think he's a fantastic player. I'm all about, his ceiling. I mean, the average is there. The power is there. It's still a good lineup regardless of losing Springer or not. So, if he is healthy, he's going to be a monster. So moving on.
One player you kind of overlooked just real quick because he says new to the team, Steven Souza Jr., which is not totally exciting name, but they did have George Springer leave. They have not brought in Jackie Bradley Jr., Miles Strauss in the outfield. Yordan Alvarez, the odds are he probably by design or by, maybe he'll get injured. He's not guaranteed to be on the field the whole time. He's in there at the DH. Michael Brantley's in left. They'd probably love him to be the DH, and he could also get injured. He wasn't last year, but a couple of guys that could easily go down, and all of a sudden Steven Souza Jr. could be in for everyday at bats and a pretty good lineup. So if you're in a deep league, I just think it's a name to keep in mind that no one's thinking about, even though he has his own injury problems. But in deep formats, or just if you want to fill up your watch list in like 12 team leagues, he's just someone where all of a sudden he could be dumped into the in the middle of a pretty decent lineup.
No, I love that. I love that thought there. It's 100% spot on. Yeah, Souza is a guy that like when he does get playing time, it's not sexy, but it works. Like if it gives value for you. So moving on here, the next question here. It's Kyle Tucker finally turning into the player that a lot of people thought he would be. Last year in 58 games, 9 home runs, 8 stolen bases. I mean, this is what we were hoping he was going to be. In a full season, that's a pretty fantastic season for him. Or are we just thinking, it was 60 games. Let's wait and see.
I love Tucker. I don't have a problem where he's going either. Like the third round, I much prefer him to Luis Robert, who is going right next to him, because Robert obviously has a pretty decent trap door below him. We saw that at the end of the season, which has probably cost him the Rookie of the Year. And he'll be batting 7th or 8th for the White Sox, where I don't see him climbing his lineup, whereas Kyle Tucker currently slated to bat 7th. I can see him climbing up, even though his manager doesn't like young players much. Bregman, we saw him struggle a little bit. Michael Brantley, is getting older. Yordan, we already talked about the injury concerns. And there's 3 lefties on the team. I could see Tucker being the one that ends up being near the top of the lineup. So that doesn't scare me away as much. So I'm willing to take him right now where he's going. Like I said, it's like maybe I've seen him go as early as late second round, but most leagues it's like middle third, beginning of third round is where he's going.
35 ADP right now is what it's looking at. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a decent average 30-20 guy with a ceiling for a heck of a lot more. I'll take a shot. I don't see him doing worse than that as long as he's healthy, even at the bottom of the lineup.
Yeah, I do like Tucker. I definitely like the upside that's there. He's shown the flashes. And last year, albeit it was a weird season all around. We've already talked about that on previous shows too, and I'm sure we'll continue to talk about it throughout the rest of the season. If we have a full season, hopefully we will. But yeah, I definitely like Tucker, especially in a league where you're looking at 4 or 5 outfielders, which is fairly standard, I know. But I do have a couple of leagues that I've played in over the past few years that have dropped out of that and done either 3 and maybe an extra utility or 4. So I definitely think Tucker can pay off, and it's like kind of like Souza. He's a name that's out there, of it, but you're not necessarily going to jump on it super quick. But if he falls to you at the right price, why not? So brings us into the pitcher's side here for Houston. So after a very successful, again, weird 2020, is Framber Valdez actually the real deal? And is he worth his ADP of 97?
I don't think he's exactly what we saw last year. He had a problem because he's mainly a ground ball pitcher, like extreme ground ball pitcher. If you look at his minor league numbers, he's like 60, 70%, not even 50. So he was more of a contact guy, but he was a little wild. But he did change his mechanics and his just general philosophy, which allowed him he pitched to a lot more contact and allowed his curveball to tunnel with his sinker, which people thought a sinker was coming. They'd swing, the curveball would dive out and they wouldn't miss it. That's where a lot of the strikeouts came from. I think he got a little lucky in that regard. So I don't think the strikeout maybe will stick around as much, but I do believe in his pitch mix and the way he cut down on his walks. So I think that is something I believe in, which is, I think, enough for an ADP at 97 because he's continuing to get better as well. I mean, there was only 4 pitchers that had a 50% plus ground ball rate and a K- walk percentage of above 20%. League average is like 14. These 4 guys were above 20. Luis Castillo, Clayton Kershaw, Hyun-Jin Ryu, and Framber Valdez. And that's a pretty gigantic group. So I think he can get swings and misses on the sinker and the curve. So he's not like a Tyler Glasnow or Lamet, where the 2 pitches I think are going to give him trouble because that curve is like pretty amazing. So I think it'll be a little more like the Max Fried route where maybe there's more contact than people want, but it will be weak contact. So while the strikeouts may not be there for people that want it, I'm still fine taking him around like 100 if that comes to it, because I think he's a nice guy to take in that, those boring, like the Jose Barrios, Kyle Hendricks kind of area where you just are going to get some decent production across the board. I think Framber can fit in real nicely with them.
Yeah. Joe, any thoughts?
No, I mean, he pretty much said it. I mean, Valdez is right there in a conversation where I like a lot of guys, Dylan Bundy's, we'll talk about him later. Sixto Sanchez, McCullers is there. A bunch of guys who I feel like they could all bottom out pretty quickly, or they could all take another step and just be that much better. Valdez is one of those guys that I think, because he is a ground ball pitcher and he's a little bit safer than maybe some of the rest too. But yeah, I like that.
Yeah. I mean, his K percentage has been over 20 all 3 years that he's pitched in the bigs. I mean, obviously 2018 was a much smaller sample size, about half the innings, a little over half the innings pitched. But he was more of a starter then. 2019 seems like he was used more in the bullpen, only 8 games started. And he went 4-7. So obviously that's not great. But 70 2/3 the past 2 years. So they're working him up. I definitely think he'll top out this year. again. And I think if he can keep that walk rate way down where, that steep of a drop that he had from 2019, I think he's going to pay some dividends for the guys that go after him.
Yeah, I mean, the note I wrote, but Mike, you kind of killed it. You kind of already answered it. Was his left on base rate is sky high, but it's because he's a ground ball pitcher. So that's kind of somewhat expected. But some people might look at that and go, "Oh, well, that's going to regress." Well, it might not because of the type of pitcher he is. So, all right, AJ, I think we can move on to the Angels, man. Let's do it.
Yeah, all right, let's do it. So new to the team here, we have Dexter Fowler, Jose Iglesias. We've got Jose Quintana, Alex Cobb, Raisel Iglesias. Okay, let's think about that for a second. Let's touch on Raisel. What are your thoughts on Raisel, Matt?
I don't know. It looks like the Reds were going for a full meltdown, and the only guy they ended up actually getting rid of was Raisel Iglesias. It was probably a huge mistake for what they got back. I think that he had some ups and downs. Last year he had 12. It was a 12 K per nine, 2.74 ERA, 1.84 WHIP, and he looked pretty good doing it. That's after a couple of like rockier years before, where the 4.16 ERA and a 3.92 FIP. Even the year before, 2.38 ERA with a 4.23 FIP. I think that they cashed in incredibly too low on someone that was, I think, right now my favorite target for a relief pitcher, because you have Josh Hader, who, he's still very young, so it's not like he's going the route of Andrew Miller very quickly, but we've seen some red flags with Devin Williams is right on his tail. Edwin Diaz, obviously, he was amazing in 2020 and 2019. He had all sorts of scares. He has Trevor Mann, a lot of other people that can, and when Seth Lugo comes back, he has some issues as well. Liam Hendricks, there's no problems there. He probably should be the number one closer off the board, in my opinion, but people just fall off. Look at the saves leader from year to year to year. It changes like constantly. There's hardly anyone that matches in the top 5. And then you have Raisel Iglesias here, who's on a decent team, who probably should have done a lot more to improve than just him. They went out and got like 6 or 7 mediocre starting pitchers. But yeah, I think he's great. He's significantly cheaper than those other guys I talked about. And he's one of the few people that just have the job locked down with really no one breathing down their neck. So yeah, I love Iglesias. And I think he's definitely the first guy that I would really want to, try to take a stab at, because I think he should be up there with the rest of the guys, and he's just discounted.
Yeah, I mean, he had a rough go a couple years ago, I feel like, and just had a couple of guys that were right behind him that came up and played pretty well. I don't know if it was a little bit of overuse the year before and whatnot, but I mean, he's been up and down throughout. But like you said, there's nobody here on this team that's really going to challenge him for this role. I mean, you got Felix Pena, okay, Ty Buttrey, we've seen what you can do. Alex Claudio, we've seen what you can do. It's just not even really worth talking about anybody else in the bullpen other than him.
He keeps getting better too. His swinging strike rate has gone from 13.9 to 15.3 to 18.6. O-swing, that's how much swings there are outside of the strike zone, has gone from 33.7 to 34.4 to 36.8. And Z contact, which is fantastic, just how much contact people are making when they swing in the strike zone. It's gone from 80.6 to 75.6 to 77.9 and then 72.6. I mean, that is a great mark. So you have a guy that's like tons of swinging strikes in the strike zone and everyone's swinging outside of the strike zone. I mean, it's exactly what you want to see in a closer.
Yeah. And then Alex Claudio, again, also new to the team, who we just mentioned. So lineup, we're looking at David Fletcher leading off. Then you got Jared Walsh in the 2 spot, followed by Mr. Mike Trout, Anthony Rendon, Justin Upton, Ohtani at the DH, Dexter Fowler, Jose Iglesias, and Max Stassi at catcher. So that's the Angels lineup right there. Joe, what do you got for question 1?
Well, so real quick, just kind of interesting. So the pitchers as well, though: Andrew Heaney, Dylan Bundy, Jose Quintana, Alex Cobb, Griffin Canning, and then Shohei Ohtani. So there's a lot of pitchers there. We're talking probably 6-man rotation here, coming up, and we'll ask about that in a minute. But first question here. Gotta start with Mike Trout. I mean, look, this is like the first year ever that I haven't seen Mike Trout in I don't know how long, at least talked about as being the number one player taken off the board. It's pretty unanimous now that nobody's taking him number one. And I get it. You know, the steals are not there anymore for him. And so you got guys like Tatis and Acuna and Betts who are still running and can hit with power as well. You know, they're all around 5-tool players. I mean, is there, I guess, unless you disagree, and feel free to jump in with that if you totally disagree with him not being number one. But, you know, I think everybody does agree with that. But my question to you is there anything else that would concern you with Mike Trout now that he is starting to get a little bit older in his game? You know, his numbers did sort of decline last year kind of all around, even though they're still stellar. But, like, you know, we are starting to see a slight decline in his numbers. You know, is there anything to, you know, worry that he could be declining even more?
No. He won with a 390 on base, 603 slugging, 17 home runs, 240 plate appearances. I think he's fine. Albert Pujols was number one, and the time will come going to start to slip. The speed is a byproduct of that. He's gone from, 30, 22, 24, and then down to 11 in 2019. And then 2020, he stole just the one. I'm pretty sure we can count on that being the case. I mean, you can maybe hope for 10, but, hoping beyond that, I think is a little silly. The news came out today that Juan Soto's possibly looking to steal more. Any possibility of anyone thinking they were close, that gap is probably grown because of that. And he was always going to steal more bases probably in the end anyway. I don't have a problem with anyone taking him early because I think he's about as safe a player as they come. I mean, you're going to get these Triple Crown stats from him, and he's going to be very, very safe. He will not be the number one overall player. He hasn't been that often, but he always is near the top. So you're looking for consistency, not necessarily the best player. And you don't need the player to be number one overall. You just want to make sure you have a good return on your investment in the first round. But yeah, I'm not worried about him at all. And I would say people aren't talking about him as number one. I mean, Scott, I can't speak for all leagues because everyone's different. I've been in a lot of the industry leagues. I'd say he's like the consensus number 9 pick at this point because I've never been in a league so far where anyone's been eager to take him in front of the shortstops. I'm talking Tatis or Turner, in front of the outfielders, Soto, Betts, Acuna, and the 3 aces up there, DeGrom, Bieber, Cole. He pretty much goes always after those guys so far. And he's getting to the point where people are starting to consider Story, J-Ram over him as well. Said those stolen bases are a big deal in getting them early in ways that won't hurt you. So I have no problem, but it's not just Trout. It's the whole first round. I don't remember a year where you can make a case for so many people going in any order in the top 10. There's usually more of a set hierarchy. And I mean, I think I must have seen 10 different players go number one so far.
Yeah, wow, that's pretty shocking to see him go 9 in a lot of leagues. Right now on Fantasy Pros, his ADP is 4.8. But I mean, we're talking, Acuna's 1, and then Betts is 2.3, Tatis is 3, Soto's 4. And then Trout's 4.8. So, yeah, I mean, a lot's going to change once the spring starts and we see people play and once we get a lot more leagues drafting. But it's interesting to hear him go that late. If I could get him at 9, I'd be severely there'd be a big smile on my face.
For anyone who's doubting Mike Trout, if you draft him, you will be happy. I mean, you'll need to get stolen bases elsewhere, but you will be fine.
Yeah, he's a
still
monster.
Mike Trout.
Yeah, no kidding.
Exactly. I would be more than happy to take him anywhere from 5 to 9, no matter what league I'm in, no matter what the categories and stats are for it. I will take him, especially if it's at 9 and I'm drafting that late because I know I got a nice second round pick coming right back on the turn. I mean, that's huge. So
get some steals on the way back.
One outfielder down, and then you go after, one of these other, like a Lindor maybe.
Right.
He's going to get you some steals. He's going to get you plenty of other counting stats, and he's in that top tier of shortstops that's heavily, garnered this year because shortstop drops off hard and quick.
I'm in this league called the Battle of the Podcast, which is a lot of different podcast hosts, and it's a 15-team like NFBC league we're all in. And I had the 9th pick, and everyone went but Mike Trout. I took Trout at 9. That's where I got him. And on my 2nd pick, I figured, all right, I'll grab some steals or I'll grab an ace. Giolito, Castillo, Nola, Flaherty, Darvish, every Bauer, they all went. So it was either I grabbed Brandon Woodruff early or skip that. Francisco Lindor went, Harper went, and then so I'm like, all right, am I taking Cody Bellinger here? And I like, all right, I already have Mike Trout, so I have some Triple Crown stats that I'm very happy with. I really need some speed. And I'm in a league with people I'd love to destroy. So I take Mike Trout and I pair him with Adalberto Mondesi.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Nice.
It's not something I recommend for everybody, but I'm truly excited to see how this team turns out, because if he's healthy, my offense is pretty much set with 2 players.
Yeah, you're talking 60 steals from Mondesi if he's healthy.
If you could pair Mondesi with Trout or Soto, I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
All right, AJ,
like
let's move on to the next question here.
All right, so let's dip into pitching here. We talked about Ohtani a little bit. So he's been cleared to be the full 2-way player, albeit just recently. But are you boosting him up your draft board, given that you can use his pitching stats and also his batting?
No, he's I don't want to throw around the word undraftable, but I'm not drafting him. I have no interest in that headache. He hasn't, whatever was wrong with him wasn't properly taken care of with surgery. I don't think pitching is a long-term option for him. I don't. I think it's coming where it's, whether it's another surgery for him or what have you. I do not think, I think hitting, he needs to go into the outfield and he needs to just be an everyday hitter. I think this 2-way thing is a pipe dream, and I wish him the luck. I mean, if anyone's seen The Scout, the real life Steve Nebraska, I want it to work out more than everybody, but I don't see it. I'm stunned that this was announced and he was cleared for this, to be honest. I just assumed that they were just going to back him off pitching and just let him hit this year anyway, but I'm hoping for it. I really don't think it'll work out. Especially, in this instance where they're going to have like a 6-man rotation with a bunch of other weird pitchers in there. Who knows how many innings they'll let him go in a regular start. If it's a 6-man rotation, he's pretty much always never going to have 2 start weeks. There's too many downsides to this, in my opinion.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to be, was it 2 years ago where they were like, oh yeah, he's our pitcher every Sunday or every other Sunday or whatever weird thing that was. So it's like, you can't trust it. You're right. Like, I don't like him. If you want to draft him, you're drafting him for his bat and his power, and that's it. And that's fine if you want to do that. I don't have any.
Well, that's the thing though, because like if they're pitching him too, that reduces the amount of at bats if they're giving him days in between or anything, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, are they going to let him hit the day before he pitches? I don't know. I mean, I would assume not.
I don't remember.
Maybe
what they
pinch
did a couple
hit
years ago. I forget.
But either way, it's just like someone else can have him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like him more in daily lineup leagues. Most leagues now are weekly. And that really hurts him.
Yeah, I fortunately only play in weekly leagues. I'm not in a ton of leagues, but the ones I do, they're all weekly or daily, except for the industry ones like TGFBI and things like that I'm in. But my home leagues and things like that, they're all daily lineup leagues. So Ohtani plays a lot more in those.
Definitely
possible.
Definitely.
Yeah, he definitely plays in those leagues. But last question here, and a little bonus question at the end here. So Dylan Bundy, a lot of people liked him last year, me included. He did have the breakout people were expecting that now that he got away from Camden Yards. I mean, can you expect this to continue, or was this simply just the 65 inning sample size, or is this the real Dylan Bundy that we were seeing?
No, I believe in Dylan Bundy. I mean, he had to rely more on his breaking pitches, and he did. The change we wanted to see in Baltimore finally took place, and it's what we saw come true. So the main thing is in his past, he had a lot of injury issues. They're going to have a 6-man rotation, so that'll be behind him. But again, I don't know if I'm comfortable at his ADP because of it. I don't think people are necessarily understanding what kind of how much that limits you, having the 6-man rotation. but we'll see if that's going to be official or not. We assume it is with how many pitchers they have. But as far as how well he did, yeah, he started throwing his best pitches more, and that's become more of a popular thing. Sonny Gray basically doesn't, he went that direction too. He just started throwing breaking stuff. So, yes, I think that Dylan Bundy is legitimate. I'm not really happy drafting these pitchers on the for sure 6-man teams though, because at least the early ones, because I do think it's going to dramatically cut down on those innings, which in this year, you really need. And doesn't matter as much for them, but like, let's say you had a pitcher that was going to go to Coors Field in the National League. You can't sit him if you're already in a 6-man rotation. I mean, then you're cutting down even more innings. It's just, where does it stop? I think innings are going to be down in general. So you can't be cutting them down for no reason. I mean, there's some pitchers that are going to go late enough where it doesn't matter, or they're going to be good enough where it doesn't matter. Dylan Bundy's like in that weird middle tier where he costs a decent amount where you don't want to have to lose that. But, I am happy with what we saw. So if I have any worry, it's not talent related.
So speaking of the 6-man rotation, I did want to ask you a little bit about this. Is there any pitcher on this team that you think avoids the 6-man rotation, or there's like 2 or 3 of them that's going to be mixed in, and like maybe Heaney and Bundy they always go 5 days type of thing?
I would think if anyone would, it'd be Bundy. I mean, Heaney's always hurt. Cobb's always hurt. Canning just coming off of like whatever PRP last year. Ohtani, we already know what the deal with him. Who else do they have? There's someone I even mentioned.
Quintana.
Oh, Quintana. Well, Quintana.
Yeah.
You want him not to pitch as often as he, give him his extra day off. He could use it. So I would think that he is the only one Bundy's the only one that should avoid this, just to get extra time off. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. I wish they would have just went another direction. And when everyone, the Cubs are giving away Darvish, when Joe Musgrove was free, Jake Odorizzi is still available, Taijuan Walker is still available. I don't know why they went the direction they did.
Yeah,
I figure they probably look at it as, well, everybody here is an injury concern, so let's just stockpile it. We'll start with 6, and by week 2, we'll already be down to 4, so we'll be scrambling again.
We'll be down to 4.
Rizal, you had starter eligibility for fantasy teams a few years ago. Let's see what you got. Come on.
Yeah, that's a good call. All right, let's jump over to the Oakland Athletics. New to the team, Elvis Andrus, Sergio Romo, and then signed today, Trevor Rosenthal. Interesting news today. The starting roster. I mean, why? Because they didn't have a closer. That was one of our questions. Now it's not. Well, it sort of is. All right, starting roster here. Leading off is Ramon Laureano, and then Mark Canha, Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, Sean Murphy, Mitch Moreland, Stephen Piscotty, Elvis Andrus, Tony Kemp. The pitching staff, Chris Bassett, Jesus Lazardo, Frankie Montes, Sean Manaea, and Mike Fiers. And then waiting in the wings in the injury list is AJ Puck. Yeah, AJ, lead the way, man.
Okay. All right. Let's do it. Sean Murphy. So he was definitely a sleeper pick by many guys last year. Pretty sluggish start. Saw him just hit 2 homers at a 202 average. And that was his first 69 at bats. Shout out Gronk. It appeared we were all wrong, though, because he finished strong, had 5 more homers, 277 average over his last 47 at bats. So what, it's kind of like a Jekyll Hyde situation here, but what should we expect from Mr. Murphy in 2021? And is he a bargain as the 11th catcher going off the board right now?
I think he is, because you have the small group at the top, Real Muto, and whether you believe in Smith, and then Grandal, Contreras, and
Perez.
I guess Perez, Darno. Well, depending on if you believe in him and staying healthy as well. And then you have this large group of people where honestly catching 1 through 10 can finish in any order. So if you can get with someone with this much talent, I think it's a bargain. I mean, his max of exit velocity is 112.5, which is very good for a catcher. His barrel percentage jumped up to 12.7, hard hit rate 48.1. It's just fantastic. You're probably gonna have to live with like a hit to batting average, but at catcher, again, who really cares? There's no one really much later than that. I think that's like kind of your firewall right there. Like maybe James McCann is sitting there too, where catchers that are going to definitely get most days and not have some tremendous downside. There's good bargains later, like Wilson Ramos ended on the Tigers. He'll have a lot of at-bats stolen from him, but like he'll play most days and maybe do okay. But this is the kind of area I love to grab my catcher in, because everyone after here has like immense risk or playing time problems. So yeah, I think he's good. One thing we didn't mention though is like he had like apparently had a collapsed lung within the last 2 weeks. They had mentioned. So this is something that he's going to be slowed in training camp right now. So that's just something to look out for. Yeah, just apparently it happened during the offseason like a couple weeks ago. They only announced it yesterday.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, pitchers and catchers, shut up.
I missed the news about who they were talking about. I turned on my Sirius XM and they were talking about like this collapsed lung, like it should have been announced a long time ago, and like the people on air were pissed. Because
they said he can't fly in a plane, so I guess he can't get there. But they don't know where it came from. Like they actually said he could have coughed too hard, and it collapsed his lung. Which I can't imagine what that feels like. But I mean, they said he'll be fine. But again, that doesn't sound fun. So it's something to look out for. For sure.
No, that doesn't sound good at all. But that's not good, man. But yeah, no, I like Sean Murphy. I was huge on him last year, and he burned me early on. Luckily, catcher was a what show, and I just held on to him, and then reaped the benefits in the last month. So that was fine. All right. So as we alluded to, the closer situation in Oakland, it was a total mess before. Maybe it still is. I mean, how much stock are we putting into Trevor Rosenthal being the guy and being consistent and reliably the guy? I mean, we see in Oakland every year, like whoever's the guy, like doesn't finish as the guy, and like it's somebody else, right? So are we expecting Rosenthal to just be it? Like they paid him kind of like he's it. Or do we expect Romo or Diekman to kind of mix in here or possibly take over?
No, 100% it's Rosenthal. It's the A's, and they just gave someone $10 million.
All right.
I mean, it's the A's. He's the closer. They may trade him. I mean, that's possible. Right. So, and Diekman's still good. So, if you're in holds leagues, he's still there. But Rosenthal, opening day, every day. He's 100% the closer. The A's do not hand out this kind of money, and the fact that they did was bizarre. But I think if he's healthy, he'll be great. So, I have no worries with him being the closer. The only question mark with him, like many other guys that wouldn't be elite across the entire league, is if he gets traded, he'll probably be a setup guy somewhere else, which we'll see how the A's do. In their mind, they're not going to need to do that. But I think he's a fine option in drafts, because there'll still be those questions about him. No doubt he'll creep up quite a bit after signing with the A's, because a lot of people thought he could have closed after Mark Melancon went to the Padres. That became a little less obvious. But the A's is a good landing spot for him.
I like the move big time. So
they do still have a decent amount of guys in that bullpen too. We talked Diekman, we talked Romo, but Lou Trevino, guy that was very save happy a few years ago. Yusmeiro Petit, he came in and pitched really well 2 years ago in the setup role. So I think that they have some guys there that could potentially fill in if Rosenthal becomes a trade target. But at the same time, other than Trevino, all of those other guys are old. I mean, Diekman's 34. Romo's 38. Pettit's 36. So, Rosenthal is just about 31. He's got the age on his side, and the service time is there. So I think it'll be good for him, but it'll be interesting to see how the A's fare, come trade deadline time to see where they're at and if they're going to be buyers or sellers. So
how pissed is Diekman? He's like, what else do I have to do? I threw a .42 ERA last year, guys.
Seriously. He's just sitting in the dugout, just being like, "He took my germ." Like, I don't know what else to do with this guy. And he sucked when he was in Philly. I mean, he just could not do a damn thing. And they're like, get out, just stop.
But typical.
What's that? I do not have a Diekman bobblehead. I'm sorry. I have every other pitcher, and I also have a Roy Oswalt downstairs that I didn't pull out yet.
This reminds me of Hansel Robles. As a Mets fan, I'm just used to the best thing is Hansel Robles. Someone will hit the ball, and he would point up like as a pop-up, and it was like a 500-foot home run. And we finally get rid of him. All Mets fans are rejoicing. He goes to the Angels, pitches well for a bit, and we're all like, give it time.
Yeah,
just give it time. And
Wait
of course,
for it.
Of course, he's terrible now. But yeah, that's kind of there. He was our Jake Diekman, but he actually went back to being terrible.
Yeah, no, Diekman left Philly like so many others have and has succeeded. So, I hate to see it as a Philly fan, but I'd like to see it for the game and for the guy. But speaking of injuries and up and downs, Jesus Lazardo, I mean, he was good, not great in 2020. I mean, the projections, including your own, actually have him improving. So is, that improvement enough to warrant his current ADP?
All right. I think yes and no. I think it is entirely roster construction dependent because I think in this year with the six-man rotations and then lots of teams coming out like the Brewers saying there'll only be a 100 inning bump in innings pitched. I think the very top of the innings, there will not be, like I think I said in like 2019, there was 37 people who pitched over 180. Last year, there was only 37 who pitched over, or there was only 17 who pitched over 70 innings. So I think the very top of the innings in the league will be a lot lower, where that will not affect the lower guys. So I think the young people like Lazardo that have that innings cap, I don't think it's going to hurt as much. But it's still going to be there. That being said, if you ever listen to him, he's very, very sharp and he knows exactly what's going on. He was very uncomfortable with the way the season went. He actually missed time with COVID, and he said he was kind of battling with mechanical problems the entire year, where he was always like moving around, and he always reviewed after the game, and he tried different grips throughout the entire year. And he at one point actually messed with a slider grip in his bullpen, loved the way it looked, used it that day. He like invented a new pitch because Brooks Baseball, I think, thinks he has a curveball. Savant thinks he has a slider, or one way or the other. It's all one pitch. He doesn't have a curveball. He doesn't have a slider, at least at the time he didn't. He has a curveball that slides, or he has a slider that curves. It's basically a slurve. And he's spending the entire offseason working on just having a consistent mechanics, consistent release point. And he has that really great 4-pitch arsenal. And then he mixed in that extra slider that had more velocity. So he could even have a 5th pitch moving in. And just everything about him I like, because when he came in 2019, he was dominant and his velocity was really high, and people were worried that his velocity would drop coming over, and he was actually aware of that too. He's very he keeps within himself. He doesn't overthrow, kind of like Noah Syndergaard does, like get lit up by overthrowing. He stays within himself. He understands that. So I think that he's electric. I think the work ethic is there. The innings limit is going to hold him back. But I think that based on everything I saw last year and him outwardly understanding it and the progress he's made in the offseason, I think it's just going to all like add up to him having kind of a breakout year here. The only problem will be the innings. There is no way around it. He will probably be capped. I mean, where do I have him? Around 150 innings. And I think I'm being generous there. I think if you draft him, you got to be willing to accept that it could be 135 or 140. I'm not talking about anything insane. I have a 3.42 ERA and a 1.21 WHIP. Around pitch 100 though, that's really good. I have him like 27 0.7 strikeout rate. So I think he can exceed those ERA numbers, but I think for where he's going and the kind of upside he has, I think that's appropriate. When I say there's a time and place, you should already have some pitchers in place that you're fine with if you can take the hit. If you went Trout Mondesi and then my ace ended up being my ace in that league ended up being like Trevor or Tyler Glasnow, that's not obviously a great opportunity to do that. But if you've locked down a couple of guys early and you can, take a shot on someone with lower innings, high upside, then that's great. But yeah, I think the ADP is appropriate because I think he's a stud, and I'd be happy to take a shot on him.
Yeah,
Joe.
I guess the one thing I worry about him is like the strikeouts aren't quite there for him as in comparison to some of the other guys that are going around him. So I think, unfortunately, I will probably pass on him where he's going. If he falls a little bit, I'm probably all over him. But I think where he's going, I'm not quite sure that the strikeouts are coming. I just don't see where that's coming in yet. So, he's a fine pitcher, and I think he will improve this year. And all the projections agree with that too. So. I'm just not sure that the strikeouts are going to improve enough to where I want him over some of the other guys. So, all right. Well, then let's move on to Seattle.
Yep.
All right.
We've got new to the team, Rafael Montero. Okay, cool, great. And then James Paxton. Isn't this a return to the team, new to the team again? All right. So, Paxton, let's talk about him for a quick second. He's often injured, but he's so damn good when he's healthy. Is he worth a late round flyer in hopes that he returns to form here?
He's going late enough where you can take a shot on him. I'm not excited about it, especially they're a team. they're a team that is going to do the 6-man rotation as well. Mm-hmm. So you take out all those possibilities of 2-star weeks. If you're in a weekly league, if you're in Roto, it hardly matters at all. But you can take a shot. It's fine. I'd rather take a shot, I think, there than Corey Kluber. I think there's more of a chance of Paxton making it happen. I think both of them are going to end up injured. There's no real suggestion in my mind that it's not going to happen, but I don't know. It's just a late round dart throw. I have no confidence there, but he's just like any other late round dart throw. I think I'd rather I'd rather draft Noah Syndergaard, who I know won't be back until June.
Whoa.
I think he pitches more innings than Paxton.
Maybe you're right. That's interesting.
Well, between Paxton being injured at some point with whatever he has and the 6-man rotation, it won't be hard to catch him. That's not me saying I want Thor. That's just me saying I could literally, in my heart, think that Thor throws more innings than Paxton, and that's not good.
Yeah, that's a rough one, man. I never thought of that. Yeah, with the 6-man rotation, it makes it harder to swallow drafting Paxton. But he's in most leagues. Take your NFBCs and your super deep leagues out of this, right? Paxton's free.
Yeah,
he's not even getting drafted.
I'm more likely to take him shallow league. If you're in a 12-team league, take a shot. If he sucks, you cut him, right?
Right? Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, if you do it. If I'm in a deep league or like a draft champions where I can't go anywhere, I don't really want to go as much. But yeah, if you're in a shallow enough league, go for all upside. If he's healthy, he's great. He's never not good when he's healthy. If he's healthy, he'll be good.
Yeah, I agree. I think in shallow leagues, you said it right on. That's exactly what I was thinking. In a shallower league and in a smaller league, take him early, ride him while he's hot, and maybe it works out for you. And then as soon as he's hurt or if he randomly sucks, bye. You got options.
Basically, if he's awesome, you should probably just trade him.
Yeah, he's the prototypical guy who
Sammy
people are going to
Watkins
know the name.
Sammy Watkins of baseball.
Yeah, people are going to know the name and be
After
like,
week 1, get rid of him.
Damn, this guy's been really pitching well for these 3 innings. All right, yeah, I'll take him. Give me whatever whatever you can. Okay, well, how about my Mike Trout at the 9th pick? Fuck it, Paxton's killing it right now. I'm done.
No, but seriously, you're joking. This is realistically what you can do because people listening.
I know.
No, I mean, like,
sadly,
James Paxton could have 1 game, 5 innings, 7 strikeouts. Looks great. Kyle Hendricks gets his freaking doors blown off in his first game, 2 innings, 6 earned runs. You can find someone who will accept that trade. You can get to the Kyle Hendricks owner, and you can actually get them to take Paxton from you. The people are out there. People even the smart people get emotional. Just you always gotta throw the trades out there. Sometimes they bite.
Absolutely. All right, so let's dip into the lineup here. We got J.P. Crawford again, former Philly, going somewhere else, doing pretty decent. Leading off, we got Crawford's leading off. Dylan Moore, we got Kyle Lewis, Kyle Seeger, Mitch Haniger, we got Jose Marmelajos. I totally butchered that. Yes. It's
gonna be Kalenic soon, so you don't got to worry about it.
Exactly. All right, good. Ty France, much easier. Evan White and Luis Torrens at catcher coming in the 9-hole. Pitching lineup, we got Marco Gonzalez, Paxton, who we already talked about, Kikuchi. You got Justice Sheffield. You got Chris Flexen, and you got Justin Dunn. So another 6-man rotation coming at you. What you got, Joe?
All right, man. Yeah. So first question there, right to Justice Sheffield. Look, he was coming through the minors, and a lot of people thought, it was looking like he was going to be a big strikeout guy. Really kind of fizzled out there in the strikeout department that he had as a prospect, but it might have been a good thing. I mean, his consistency and his control was much better last season. Finished with a 3.58 ERA, which was drastic done before. Despite, the lack of strikeouts, can that be a viable fantasy asset? Can that make him a viable fantasy asset in 2021 with that kind of an ERA?
I don't see it repeating. He doesn't get squared up very often. His barrel rate's against it's 3%, but the things you want to see, like you said, that strikeouts took a dip over the last year. His swinging strike rate dropped from 12.9 to 8. More concerning is that his Z contact went from 86 to 92, which he looks like he's trying to make contact. That's what he's attempting to do. So you don't necessarily hold that against people, especially someone with him who is 52.3% ground ball rate and a 50.6 ground ball rate. But there's not a lot of room for error there if you're not getting the strikeouts and you're not getting a lot of people to chase everything out of the zone. Everything we saw last year is legit, though. 3.58 ERA backed up with a 3.17 FIP. And like I said, you look at the xFIP as 4.27, but this is someone who's looking to limit hard contact. Mm-hmm. The barrel percentage is low, so normalizing home runs for him isn't necessary. So you look more to the FIP when it comes to field independent pitching with the defense behind him. It actually looked like he got unlucky last year. So where he's going, I'm willing to take a shot on that. I think what we saw is pretty legitimate. He's the Dallas Keuchel type, though, or Marcus Stroman. I don't know. He's trying to get more strikeouts too, but just one of those people where as long as you're fine. Actually a good example is just his teammate, Marco Gonzalez, who's a lot more expensive than him. If you're fine with the no strikeouts, I think he'll be decent enough. It's unfortunate the 6-man rotation, but again, here with guys like Paxton and Chris Flexen, who knows? Maybe they'll go back to a 5-man sooner than later.
Probably will happen.
These guys are all cheap enough where I'm not too worried about that. Like I said, Bundy, it worried me because he's expensive. With these guys, I don't. So I like Sheffield as long as you know what he is. If you're expecting that K rate from 2019 to come back, I don't think it is.
No, I agree with you. I think he changed his approach 100% there. To me, because I kind of gravitate to the daily lineup leagues, he's more of the streaming type option where, you actually may even hold him on your roster because he's a good streaming option, every other time out because you can afford it more in a daily lineup league. In a weekly league, I don't know, he might get dropped a lot more, but in in a daily lineup league, I feel like he plays more because when he does go after teams like the Tigers and things like that, like you're playing him probably. Like that ERA is going to play real nice, and he might rack up 6, 7, 8 Ks that day off just 6 innings, and you're loving it. So that's how I kind of view him. So
yeah. So let's cue the sexy music here, but no, wait, never mind.
Jeff, you didn't have that queued up.
We're gonna go ahead and talk about Kyle Seeger. So clearly not.
Why is he on the team still? By the way, why is Kyle Seeger still on this team?
Because his brother just won MVPs in consecutive playoff appearances.
I don't mean because he's bad. I mean like
that it's related because they're related. I don't know.
He should have been traded last year at the end of the year.
Yeah, he totally should have been traded. When he wasn't traded, I was like, what?
It made no sense. Like, what is Seattle doing? You take anything for this man. Anyway,
they're focusing on the grunge scene, not on their baseball team. So, again, not at all anything sexy about Kyle Seeger. But should he at least be drafted higher than he's currently going? I mean, he is at least consistent above average. He still bats in the middle of the lineup. He's got, RBI potential, homer potential-ish, we'll say, at this point. I mean, what are your thoughts on non-sexy Seeger?
It's fine. I mean, I usually like him. I mean, he usually is about as consistent as they come. I mean, you pretty much just mark him down for his 25 to 30 home runs, his average counting stats, and his average is usually 250 to 260. The last few years, though, has been 221, 239, and 241. So, I mean, if that is what we're in for, I don't think he should be drafted any higher. I mean, I'm glad no one's really falling for what we saw because he had 9 home runs and 5 stolen bases in a limited season. Seattle ran like crazy. I'm pretty sure we're not going to get a full season, stretch of whatever that, extrapolates out to like freaking 12 or 13 stolen bases. That's not going to happen. He usually gets about 2, 3 a year. And I think that's what we should expect. Being traded off the team would be good because, maybe he can land somewhere where, there is some more counting stats to be had as far as runs and RBIs. But with guys like Michael Franco out there as a free agent, who's basically him, I don't know why anyone's giving up an asset against Seattle. What were you thinking? They make trades all the time. So, yeah, I mean, he's just a guy. He did really well last year. If you actually look into his plate discipline metrics and stuff, he actually is pretty impressive with what he did. But it's an anomaly based on the rest of his career. It's just an outlier in a short season. He's available late. Guys like Brian Anderson of the Marlins are available late. They're all those okay average 25 home run guys. They're not hard to find. CJ Cron was just picked up by the Rockies. He's probably going to hit 40 home runs.
Yeah, right.
He's free-ish. Yeah. If you want a corner infielder and not just third base, it's just, I don't know. There's just nothing. There's just a lot. These guys kind of grow on trees. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. My thing with Seeger is you can look at last year and think it might be an outlier, but you go back the year before, in just 106 games, he had 23 bombs. I mean, maybe something's changed with this guy a little bit. I'm not saying go out and go crazy with him, but look at the end of your draft. If you want in need the safer pick because you've tried to go after a whole lot of upside, Seeger's not gonna hurt you. He's gonna be a good safe player, especially early on in your leagues where you can hold on to him, reliably count on some stats from him. And then maybe somebody will come along and you can drop him that, who's going to be a lot better. But I think he should be drafted a lot higher than he's going. There's people drafted ahead of him who are barely going to see the field this year.
Who are some examples going from I don't know. It just seems like I'd rather have Austin Riley than him. I would rather have, I don't know. I'm trying to come up with some examples. There's just so many people that are just
I see Adley Rutschman going the catcher for the Orioles. This guy.
Well, that's stupid.
That's not. He's not getting called up this year. Nico Goodrum. What? Why?
How dare you besmirch the name of Goodrum?
I'm sorry.
It clearly has the word good in it. Come on.
Yeah, he is.
Jonathan
good. He's trying to
Stokes
tell
going
you.
ahead of him. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of the same player, but
Yeah, I think they're the same guy.
yeah. But I mean, like,
yeah.
No, I have no problem with Seeger. I'm just
Adam Duvall
It's
going
fine.
ahead of him.
although at his point in ADP, does it really matter? Does ADP
No.
matter? It's more like you get to a certain
He's
point where
free.
like, okay, I need a third baseman. Okay, Seeger, and
Oh,
you just
Corner
take it.
infielder is what you're looking at, or utility, or just bench spot at this point. Like, you know, how late he's going. He's a free player, 250 ADP basically. So like, you're just grabbing anybody. Like, I think at the end of your drafts, and I said it in an article that's going to go up tomorrow. If you've taken a lot of chances, a lot of upside plays, and you know, look, 50% of those guys aren't going to hit, if probably not more. Right? This is how it works.
Yep.
Seager's going to hit with what you expect from him. So you go draft that Seeger, you go draft Kyle Seeger late in your drafts to get a safe play. You can't draft 15 upside guys. You're going to get smashed in your leagues. It just doesn't work that way, guys. You've got to go. You got to get some safe, reliable guys. I'm sorry. I'm boring.
Who would you rather have? Kyle Seeger, Brian Anderson, or Eduardo Escobar?
I don't want Brian Anderson. I get his average is way better.
They're all
But
for me. They're literally all the same guy. Put masks on them. I
Brian
can't tell the
Anderson
difference.
doesn't hit for the power, right? Am I?
No, he'll hit 20. He'll hit like the 25-ish. I mean, he's never reached the peaks that Seeger had, but I think what we're looking at, it's pretty similar. Last year he had 11 home runs and 220 at bats, or 229, or 229 plate appearances.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they are all and they're all going around the same range too. So yeah, they're all kind of the same. But again, those are all guys. Like, go after one of them late in your drafts and just kind of bank some stats early on until some of these other guys pop up and you can drop them for like much higher upside and much more valuable players. You can't sit there and draft all the upside guys and just wait and hope that half of them hit, because it just doesn't happen that way usually.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So last question here. Mitch Haniger. Batting average dropped significantly in 2019. Of course, you know, he's only able to play 63 games thanks to the back injury, which might have attributed to the drop in the batting average. Surgery held him out last year. I mean, thoughts on him for this season? You know, his ADP is super low as well, right there. I mean, all these Mariner players are just dirt cheap, honestly.
I mean, I'm not trying to make a joke at all. I think he's Kyle Seeger as far as what I'm expecting. I think he's a little better average, but 250, maybe 25 to 30 home runs. I'm expecting the same thing out of both people, but Haniger has proven in the past that he can be better than that. Obviously, like he can 280. So yeah, I think he's more of a, hey, Kyle Seeger with upside. We're just saying, you take Kyle Seeger with Mitch Haniger's Kyle Seeger with upside. So yeah, I think it's a great option. They say that he is healthy, and we've seen what he can be when he's healthy. I mean, 2018, 285 with 26 home runs, 90 runs, 93 RBIs, 8 stolen bases. So yeah, certainly take a shot. Outfield's really deep for this reason. There's a lot of interesting people there, and if he's going to play every day, you know, we'll ride him up there.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Haniger. I do like him. I don't know, AJ, you got any thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like him. I mean, he's the looking at the starting lineup again. He's the second oldest player behind Kyle Seeger, who is the oldest player on this team.
Not gonna lie, finding questions for Seattle is rough.
Starting,
Haniger, if he's healthy, they ought to trade him too.
Kyle Seeger with every, you know, this is probably going to be the most publicity he will get all year long. So you're welcome, buddy. You bring in that 33rd year. But yeah, dude, I like Haniger. He's got the upside. He's got some pop. Injuries have slowed him a little bit, so I think it's a good year for him to get back into it. So, all right, let's move on to the Rangers.
Finish up here with our last team, the Texas Rangers. New to the team, we got a lot of them. Nate Lowe, David Dahl, Chris Davis, Mike Foltynewicz, Dane Dunning. I want to go real quick back to Chris Davis. Whoa. man, how hard it has fallen for Chris Davis. He was a stud. And not so much anymore. I mean, what do we do with Chris Davis, man? Like, is he just? I mean, he's done, right? Like, there's no way. You've got to see it for like a week or so for him to like be picked up in leagues, right? He's obviously not getting drafted, but wow, went from 40 home runs for 3 straight years down to 23, and then just 2 last year. Didn't really even see a lot of playing time. The batting average is just dropping significantly. Like, what happened to this guy?
Yeah, I mean, you used to have a conversation where you're like, oh, I drafted Chris Davis. And people really? Oh, no, it was Chris Davis with a K, not a C. Right. Now it doesn't matter. Who cares? They're both the same person. Yeah. They both suck. I mean, they went from having 247
average locked up, though, for a while there.
Yeah, and then he gave it up. They had Elvis Andrus planted on their bench, and then he got pushed out. Freeing up the infield logjam, and Nick Solak can play and everyone can play. And instead, they bring back Chris Davis and then logjam up the outfield and DH situation where Willie Calhoun was maybe going to DH. Now he has to go out to the outfield. David Dahl's out there. Nate Lowe's at first. We don't know if they can plug anyone at first base now. It's just horrible that he's even on the team because all he's going to do is steal at bats from someone else who should have them. So I'm not interested in Chris Davis. I'm just interested in how Chris Davis is going to screw everybody else because again, it affects the outfield because he's clogged. If he's playing, he's clogging the DH and then Calhoun can't go out there. And then it's just whatever. I mean, David Dahl's going to get injured and this will all work itself out. But
yes.
And Joey Gallo. I mean, it seems the writing's on the wall that they're going to probably trade him at some point as well. So who knows? Maybe that'll work itself out. But for now, I'm not interested in Chris Davis other than how it kind of screws up the opportunities of other people.
Yeah, it was just one of those, like I saw it and I traded for him in the Dynasty League 2 years ago to win the league that year, with him. And then I was like, oh, I got to keep him. And then, nope. All right, so let's run through those.
I got to trade him.
Yeah, no, he's being dropped. So it's a Dynasty, but we only keep 25 people. So it's more of a keeper league. It's weird. I don't know. Anyway, lineup here. Leody Tavares is leading off. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Man, these names are terrible. Starting shortstop. This guy's all over the place. Willie Calhoun, Joey Gallo, Nick Solak, Nate Lowe, David Dahl, Jose Trevino. Is that a golfer? And then Ruffin Odor. And then
second Trevino in this division that we talked about tonight.
Yeah. And then starting pitching, Kyle Gibson, Jordan Lyles. I don't know. Dane Dunning, Mike Fulton, Kohei Arihara. I'm going to hope I get that one right. I don't know. All right, so let's jump over to a player we do know how to say his name, Joey Gallo. As you mentioned, I mean, look, we know the power's there for him, right? But I mean,
all right.
I like Arihara for what it's worth.
All right, I literally knew nothing about him. I'm not gonna lie, so I didn't write his name down. I forgot.
All right, I just a total quick sidebar here. I'm just now looking at this on the fan graphs as I'm scrolling through and seeing his name and everything. Purchased from Japan, December of 20. I mean, haven't we moved on from this, people? All right, sorry. Total
what?
I just don't like the term. I don't like it.
Well, I think his contract was purchased.
Yeah, I know what it means, but I also know what it means. So it's just, I don't know. It's weird. Sorry.
AJ getting political in
and I'm not political at all.
All right.
Not
so Joey Gallo, like obviously we know, Matt, the power is unquestioned for Joey Gallo, but the batting average is just atrocious. But it's the power enough to overcome the bad batting average for him. I mean, outside of 2019, where he actually, he looking like he was going to be good with batting average. He looked like he turned a corner, then went right back to being even worse last year. But I mean, like, is the power enough to overcome this just atrocious batting average where he's hopefully hitting 200?
he's actually the current player breakdown I'm doing because I do all the player threads. He's the one I'm working on right now. It'll probably be out tomorrow. But I guess sneak peek of that. It's just anyone who thought 2019 was real was where have you been? Are you new here? He had a 368 BABIP after batting 209 and 206 the previous 2 years with 40 home runs. All of a sudden, he bats 253 with a 22 home runs. The 253 was never happening. He's not going to hit 368. He's not the fastest guy in the world. He had a 389 on base, which was due to a lot of walks. That was interesting. His plate discipline was fantastic. He actually went from like atrocious to well above average in 1 year. So that was interesting. And I wanted to see if that would carry over. The batting average is always coming down, but him being on base more would be nice. It could help him with like just general counting stats and just having a better batting eye because he's a barrel machine. He's always like over 20%. Last year it dropped to like 10 or 11, which is still great for most people, but for him, it's terrible. So he batted 181 with 10 home runs. And I'm sorry to tell everybody, that's kind of what he is. I mean, again, 2017, 209 with a 333 on base, 40 home runs or 41 home runs. 2018, 206 with a 312 on base, 40 home runs. And then last year, only 226 plate appearances, batted 181 with a 301 with 10 home runs. I mean, his BABIP was a little low and all of his plate discipline was awful and he was whining about the stadium. So I think that there's some positive regression coming his way. But all in all, 209, 206 with 40 home runs. That's just who this guy is. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you look at all the projections. They have like 218, 215. He's like, I'm betting on it being 209 to 206 because that's exactly who he is. His BABIP's going to come back to around 250 like it was for those 2 years. And he's going to hit probably 40 home runs with like 85 and 90. I mean, we've seen who he is, and that's who he is. So either you're okay with that or you're not. So I won't say I'm worried about him. I won't say I'm excited about him. He was going way too early last year, and he's going way too late this year. He should be being where he was drafted in 2019 drafts, which is, a guy who's going to hit 205 to 210 with 40 home runs. I'm not sure what else there is to really say. He's still relatively young. He's not in any, he's not in any kind of downturn. 2020 should kind of be erased. He's not that bad, but he's not going to get much better.
Yeah, I don't like to take those players where like they're just huge drains on batting average. They're hard to own. Like I can find power elsewhere. I don't need to find the guy hitting 40 that's going to give me a 210 batting average if I'm lucky. I just never wanted that, and it makes you have to if you take a guy like Gallo, you're forced to take safer batting average guys with which in a lot of cases don't get you a lot of power later on in drafts. Don't get you the huge counting stats. Sometimes those batting average guys later in drafts are just kind of boring players. Like you don't want them.
And so it's hard to I mean, it can work out. Like if you want to pair David Fletcher with a Gallo, you can. But like you said, in the end, you might be better off just grabbing a couple of mid guys in the middle that offer you a little bit of each. But
I think it balances out a little more, but you're right though. His ADP is so low that like, hey, maybe once it gets around that time, I'm like, I'm gonna get 40 home runs in round 15. Yeah,
I mean, you could have a team where usually steals are where people's deficient, but if you've gone the draft and you've picked up like the middling guys, the guys who give you a little bit of power and some speed, and you've been just like adding speed, but you found yourself, okay, I am missing power, and you're like, all right, look at all these. There's so many people that can hit 25 home runs. Maybe you can grab Randall Grichuk, whose at-bats are in question now in the Blue Jays because they're a stockpile. But you look at this guy, it's like 40 home runs are probably in the bank. And there's not too many guys. I mean, I said I like Austin Riley earlier. I think he's an interesting guy, but you're still hoping for that. Gallo, I think it's like pretty sure he's hitting 40 home runs. So I agree with you. I hate taking drains anywhere. I don't taking essentially one category people like Malik Smith or Billy Hamilton, like people used to do for stolen bases.
No.
But yeah, I mean, where he's going, I mean, it's 40 home runs. Not that many people actually do hit 40 home runs. And I guess with the tiny ball coming, whatever the freak mod Rob Manfred has in store for us, Gallo's power will play anywhere. So he's one of those guys where 40 home runs are 40 home runs.
I will say this real quick before AJ does his question. You mentioned like taking the guys like Billy Hamilton and things like that. They're like a drain in, batting average, but they're good at steals. The problem with those steal guys is that they don't get you the other RBI and run categories either. Like maybe runs, but like RBIs are out. Averages, for those guys are out. So you're getting no home runs, no RBI, bad average. You getting steals and hopefully getting runs, but those guys were on bad teams, so maybe they weren't scoring a lot. So those guys were always out from me. So yeah, I just want nothing to do with them. All right, AJ, go for it, man.
Okay, again, we shall sidebar. What is the commissioner and Mitch Haniger doing together with the smaller ball syndrome thing? What's going on with that? No, I don't. All right,
bad joke. All right,
anyway,
keep going. AJ lost his train of thought. Just see
totally.
Hey, how about those Rangers?
Yeah. So speaking of the Rangers, what the hell kind of bullpen and or pitching staff overall? Just everything that we're looking at here. I mean, this has to be the worst pitching staff in the majors. Absolute worst.
Have you looked have you looked at the Baltimore Orioles?
I live
maybe
not
at least
as
John
close
Means.
to Baltimore,
like
but yes. No,
yeah.
I would take Josh Means on a 6-man rotation by
Josh
himself
Means. I'll take
above
John.
all of these guys. Kyle Gibson, okay, yeah, high prospect, you're a turd. Jordan Lyles, what have you done for me ever besides get your ass kicked in Colorado? Arihara, okay, you're labeled as purchased. We've already talked about that. Dane Dunning, okay, all right. Don't even. I'm not even going to go down there. He's the youngest on your staff, so he might have the most upside. And Fultonevich, injury concern, played for the Braves, so I already don't like you. But under 30,
I'm not convinced he throws a single inning.
I mean,
last time we saw him, he was like, his life just evaporated, and he just shows up in Texas. I don't know. I'm interested to see him. He
teleported down there. I don't know. He fell into some old X-Men comic books, found some Nightcrawler series, and boom, now you're in Texas. Okay, what the hell just happened?
And this is the end of the show. The beer's kicking in for AJ. We have no idea what's going on anymore.
Please.
I really do like Dunning. I like Arihara. I mean, there's no reason in the universe to draft Lyles. I don't know why they have him listed as a number 2. They should go with a 4-man rotation.
Or a 2-man rotation. Sorry, guys.
Fultonevich, though, it's funny though. He could land anywhere between like all-star and like single A pitcher. I have no idea. You don't draft him, obviously,
which is what he's done his entire career. 2018, he was an all-star, and then last year he was like me.
It's one thing they low key have like a fantastic bullpen though.
Yeah.
Dude, at least full of people with like incredible strikeout potential.
Yeah. Yeah, like Clark and Hearn for sure. I like them. Yeah, it's I do like the bullpen, and maybe that's what they're going for. Like, hey, you guys give us 3 innings, and then we'll move.
We don't know anymore. A roster full of starting pitchers who are going to be openers. That's it.
So are any of these guys like worth monitoring as the season begins? Though, you mentioned Arihara. Yeah, the starters.
Oh yeah, I think Arihara and Dunning should both be drafted for sure.
Okay,
I think what we saw in right now. I think what we saw in Chicago for Dunning was pretty legitimate. I mean, we saw him face off against Casey Mize in their professional debuts, and Dunning looked better. I'm not saying that'll be the long term, but I mean, Dunning looks solid there, and I'm expecting him to be pretty good. As back end of a rotation guy, he'll be your 5th or 6th starter on your team, but I like him. I think he should be picked up. Arihara is a guy that I would draft, see how he looks. I mean, I'm not going to pretend to know everything about him. I've read scouting reports. I've seen some video clips, and he looks pretty promising. So draft him, see how he looks in spring training, see how he looks in the beginning of the season, be prepared to cut him loose. But I wouldn't leave a 12-team draft with those guys necessarily sitting on the waiver wire. The other guys shouldn't be drafted even in 15-team leagues.
No, I mean right now all their ADPs are, well outside the range of being drafted. So you can pick any one of them. It seems like. So, last question here for the night: David Dahl, as we mentioned, big disappointment. A lot of hype on this guy, and he's got all the talent in the world, but big disappointment in Colorado. A lot of it injury related. He's been kind of jerked around in Colorado because that's what they do. It seems like to their prospects. Not really sure what's going on. Any expectation that he can turn it around in Texas now? Just a change of scenery maybe does the trick for him.
No.
AJ didn't ask you.
I don't know if there's if the what do you call it, the Texas air is going to be healing, because it's not that Dahl was bad, it was always hurt. So I mean, honestly, look at him: 315 average, 273, 303. He had an on-base percentage at over 350 twice. Slugging percentage always over 500 before 2020. When he's playing, he's good. He just never plays, and I haven't seen any. And he only had 99 plate appearances last year. I have no idea what that would change. So in best ball, take a shot. If you're in like a really, really deep league, I guess you can, but if there's no waiver wire to be able to replenish him, that's a dangerous spot. So I think in a 12-team league, if you have waited on and you maybe like have a little bit of a weaker offense and you need a spark plug, it's possible you can draft him in there and hope for the best. But man, I don't really have any hopes there. I think you're better off, like we talked earlier. We had mentioned Mitch Haniger. I think you're better off. I bet you're better off. Like if you're looking for some kind of high upside guy, you're better off just trying to take something a little safer. I mean, we're talking about this home team. I'd rather take Willie Calhoun than David Dahl, who has his own injury problems.
Yes,
I think I'd rather take left bench than David Dahl.
Well, I mean, he's good. It's not like
at least
he's not bad.
He's
not
shown
one of those guys
flashes in the like 4 to 7 games that he's played in 14 years. So, but no, he's a guy that can do it. He's got the upside, but I just don't think that I'll own him again.
Ruin for you, buddy.
All right, so that's it for the team breakdown. We like to finish things off here with our standings predictions. Matt, how do you see this division finishing out this season?
I think the Astros are going to finish way out in front. I don't have a win total, but
no, that's all right. Don't worry about that.
Astros way out in front. The Astros. I think that the Angels will actually come in second with their really weird 90-man rotation. The Athletics will come in third with, I like Lazardo. The rest of the rotation probably will fall apart like always. Montas already has COVID. And then I think it'll be a really, really fascinating race for last place between the Mariners and Rangers. It'll be a nail biter.
AJ, what you got?
Definitely Astros first. Gotta go Angels second. I mean, I think this just falls the same way that we talked about them. Athletics. Athletics might pop up second. I think the Angels are going to take it, though. It'll be a close second runner-up, battle between the two of them. And then Rangers, God, and Mariners, why even bother? Yeah, nobody cares about you anymore. Sorry.
Yeah, so I've got Astros up top, too. I'm actually going to go Athletics 2, Angels 3. The Athletics just always seem to figure out a way to, like, shock people. And they'll make the playoffs and then lose in the first round. Mariners, Rangers, flip a coin for who goes last. I guess.
You know what? I said I'll take the Rangers solidly in last. The Mariners at least have 6 competent pitchers they're throwing out there.
I guess maybe because I talked up Kyle Seeger, I'll say the Mariners will finish fourth. Yeah. Who knows? All right. So that's it for the show, Matt. Appreciate you coming on, man. Remind everybody where they can find you on Twitter and what you got in store for us this year, man.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys. You can follow me on Twitter at Matt Williams, MATTWI77IMS. You can find my work. I always on Twitter doing the 2021 player breakdowns. My DMs are always open if you have questions. Yeah. Thank you very much. I work hard on them. The over at NBC Sports Edge. Find my work over there and then on rotofanatic.com.
Fantastic. All right, man. Well, have a good night. Appreciate you coming on late notice, and we'll have to do this again sometime.
All right. Thanks for having me. See you guys.
All right. Definitely.
See you.
Thanks, man.
All right, AJ. I don't have anything else. We went a little long today, but it's all good.
I've got a few things that we'll just throw out here because you talked about your baseball cards and how you collected for
just falling asleep, by the way.
Year of 1987. So I was out digging around in the garage, found a couple for this this division here. We've got Mr. Gary Gaetti. I don't know if that's visible. All right.
Is.
Gary Gaetti for the Angels. I've got a 1992 Upper Deck best left-handed pitcher, probably because it was his only hand, Jim Abbott.
Jim Abbott.
Okay. All right.
Nice.
Great. Then I've got a Pinnacle. I don't know if you even know what Pinnacle is. It was a brand of baseball card. We've got a Harold Baines, also played for the Orioles. And the man himself, Dennis Eckersley, I don't know what he's doing with his ball sack there, but I'm pretty sure he's grabbing it saying, fuck you, I just struck you out. And then we've got a couple of quality names here for the Seattle Mariners. Whoop, drop that one. We got a Tino Martinez.
Nice.
Pinnacle again. And the other one is
with Pinnacle.
Omar Vizquel. All right.
Nice.
Boom.
His baseball card is him bunting.
Of course. I literally found a baseball card of John Smoltz batting.
Oh my gosh.
Why? Why are you even doing that? I mean, that it's like, oh, wait, hold on. Snap this one. And he's not bunting. I mean, he's actually batting, so I'll give him that. Suck it, Omar.
Someone the other day, I couldn't know who the player was. It was someone with like a big handlebar mustache, and they were basically going down to fill up their Gatorade cup from the cooler, and that was their card. And he was just kind of looking at the person like, don't you fucking take my picture. Like, that was the photo.
Yeah, it's like, I'm Carney Langsford, motherfucker. That's who I am. Getting Gatorade. And last but not least, I had to find this one for you, Joe, specifically. I wish I would have found this one last week. This is the Big Hurt. You
I
may
know who that
him
is.
as
Jerk
Frank
off. I just
Thomas.
don't have his card in my house. It's buried in my mom's storage unit.
Wah. Cry me a fucking river. I have 18,000 boxes that I just moved into this house. And I also have about 3 times that amount of pieces of packing paper that I have folded nice and neat, straight lined to try to resell to a moving company. So we'll see how that works. I'll report next week. But I don't have any sympathy for you not owning a Frank Thomas card. You are not a baseball fan unless you own a Frank Thomas card.
I actually had his cleats when I played base. The Little League, I had Frank Thomas cleats.
See? That's what I'm talking about.
You act like I don't know who Frank Thomas is. I do know who Frank Thomas is. I have his cards. They're just...
You know Frank Thomas from his, like, Nutrigenics commercials where the girls are like, oh, my God, that's the Big Hurt. I want to go hit that. Like, what? I mean,
I got nothing. We're going to end. Jeff, cue the music, man. We're done. Peace out, guys. See y'all next week.
I didn't know that was a part of the show.
We didn't know either. AJ goes on rants.
It's not.